In a land far, far away lies the kingdom of Fiore, a place where magic touches every part of its citizens' lives. Magicians' guilds fight for honor, glory, and of course, cold hard cash. This is my fairy tale timeline, all the way up to the time skip in Season 4. Shout out to Crunchyroll for sponsoring this video. Ready, set, aye! The main story of Fairy Tail takes place over a relatively short period of time, but the origins of the guild go back way further. 686, Fairy Tail is founded. Mavis Vermilion, the first master of Fairy Tail, founds the guild in 686. 777, Natsu joins Fairy Tail. Nearly 100 years later, in 777, the current guildmaster Makarov finds an orphan named Natsu and takes him in. He'd been raised by the dragon Igneal, but Igneal, along with all of the other dragons, disappeared mysteriously. 784, it all goes down. Lucy Heartfilia is a celestial wizard who is searching for gateway keys, magical tools that allow magicians to summon celestial beasts from the spirit world. She runs into Natsu, a wizard from Fairy Tail, and his sassy flying cat, Happy. When she learns that Natsu is a member of her favorite guild, she insists that he take her to Magnolia, where the guild hall is. Fairy Tail is the most popular guild in the land, and it's not just because every single member is a snack. Well, that probably does have something to do with it. But besides being ridiculously good-looking, Fairy Tail wizards are strong and they've got tight bonds with each other too. We meet walking shoujo trope Gray and Kana, the resident drunk. She's a big mood. We also meet Elfman, who's butch as hell but can't take a punch, unless he's in beast mode. Then there's Loki, a playboy, and best girl Mira Jane, the beauty of the group. And finally, Fairy Tail's master Makarov, who's tiny but extremely frightening. Hey, just like me. Let's be real, whenever you see a guy that looks like this in anime, there's a 100% chance he's super powerful. Lucy's biggest dream is realized when she is invited to join the guild, and she gets a sick tat to prove it. On their way back from their first quest, Lucy, Natsu, and Happy run into Erza, Fairy Tail's #1 redheaded waifu. Erza asks Gray and Natsu for help with the job, but unfortunately for everyone involved, they're kinda huge enemies. Guess it comes with the territory when one of you has fire powers and the other has ice powers. Maybe that's why Todoroki's so messed up. Lucy tags along to make sure the boys don't kill each other. They learn that the Eisenwald wizards have a skull flute made by a dark magician named Zarif. The flute's forbidden lullaby is designed to kill thousands of people at once by putting them into endless sleep. So essentially, the Dark Guild has a weapon of mass destruction. Sounds like just another Tuesday for Fairy Tail. After kicking some wizard tail, the crew discovers that Eisenwald's real plan is to use the skull flute on the guild masters, who have gathered for a council meeting. Over in the town of Clover, the council meeting is in full swing. The Fairy Tail crew and the Eisenwald mages converge on Clover, and Master Makarov ends up in a standoff against the dark wizard Kageyama, who has the skull flute. After some inspirational speaking, Kageyama reconsiders his actions and agrees to surrender the flute and join Fairy Tail. But the flute isn't going to give up so easily. It transforms into a giant, thorny monster and begins wreaking havoc. The guildmasters discover that the flute is one of Zarif's demons. Zarif is basically Fairy Tail's Voldemort, and the guildmasters are shocked to see his dark magic on the loose once again. Thankfully, Best Boys and OTP, Gray and Natsu, take the monster down, but the whole ordeal doesn't bode well for the peaceful kingdom of Fiore. Just like in real life, the number of dark guilds in the world is slowly increasing. Yikes. Could this spell the end of Fiore's peace? Back at Fairy Tail, Erza is arrested for property damage. Seems like the Magician's Council is getting real fed up with Fairy Tail's antics, even if they did just save all of the guildmasters from an evil sentient flute. One of the council members, Hadi Yadi Yadi Seagrain, warns Erza that the council's trying to use her as a scapegoat. Erza's let off with a slap on the wrist, and they all go back to the guild. Loxus shows up, and we learn about the second level of the guild. Literally. The second floor is for advanced members and houses a special board with S-Class quests. They're high risk, high reward. And of course, Natsu and Lucy are convinced that they can rank up to S-Class if they just steal an S-Class quest. You gotta remember, Natsu and Lucy have about 3 collective brain cells and 2 of them are Lucy's. They find a quest that includes a new gate key as part of the reward, so Lucy is on board. The trio, plus Gray, head to an island that's cursed. Its population transforms into demons whenever there's a purple moon. They also learn that there's a group of outsiders who serve a leader known as the Cold Emperor on the island. Oh, and that the demon of destruction, Deliora, is sealed on the island. Gray's master, died sealing away Deliora, so he's got a personal stake in the issue. They learn that the outsiders have cast a magic circle in the temple in order to collect moonlight, in a ploy to melt the ice shell around Deliora. And their spell has only one little side effect. Concentrated mood drip works like radiation and changes your body, which is why the islanders are transforming. That actually doesn't sound so bad to me. I'd love to grow horns or, a third eye. I'd love a third eye. It turns out that the Cold Emperor is Leon, a former acquaintance of Gray's. Both Leon and Gray trained under and Leon wants to resurrect Deliora so he can beat a demon that couldn't. So it's basically a big ego trip. The fairy tale crew does not support that plan, so they trounce Leon and his minions. Meanwhile, Erza catches up to Lucy, Gray, and Happy, and she's ready to dish out some whoop-ass on them for stealing the S-Class quest. It's a good thing she's there, though, because Deliora is freed after all. With no other option in sight, Gray prepares to perform the ice shell, just as his master had years before. But Natsu won't let him go out like that. In a moment practically dripping with bromance, Natsu defeats the demon with one fiery punch. Natsu can't take all the credit, though. I mean, had been fighting the demon from within the ice for 10 years. The demon is destroyed, but for some reason, the villagers are still monsters. In a twist that practically screams anime, Gang discovers that the villagers' demon form is their true form after all. And that, my friends, is when I fell in love with Fairy Tail. We all know that my true form is a demon too. When Team Natsu return to the guild, they find it totally destroyed. Mira Jane tells them that the Phantom Lord Guild intentionally attacked the guild hall while Fairy Tail's strongest members were away. Remember Seagrain, the guy who threatened Erza at the courthouse? Well, he's also a member of Phantom Lord. The Iron Dragon Slayer is also a Phantom Lord wizard, and the vandalization of Fairy Tail's guild looks a lot like his handiwork. As if that weren't enough though, the Iron Dragon Slayer, crucified 3 of Fairy Tail's members, so Makarov is ready for retaliation. They attack Phantom Lord, facing off against the guild's strongest members, the Element 4. When Makarov confronts the master of Phantom Lord Jose, he hints that Lucy has a secret backstory that no one at Fairy Tail knows about. Spoiler alert, it's that she's super rich. Is anyone surprised? Moving on. During the confrontation, a Phantom Lord wizard removes Makarov's magic. Natsu comes to Lucy's rescue and gets to the bottom of the whole attack. Lucy's father hired Phantom Lord to kidnap Lucy and basically scare her off being a wizard. They head back to the guild to recover and get the help for Makarov. The guild gets bad news about Makarov's condition. It will take a long time for him to recover from having his magic removed, and if he doesn't fight through, he could die. The guild's spirits are low, so Phantom Lord decides to kick them while they're down. The Element 4 go all Howl's Moving Castle and attack Fairy Tail again, this time with a walking guild hall that has a giant cannon. These strongest members take on the Element 4. Juvia, a water mage from the Element 4, sees her battle with Gray as a really aggressive meet cute and falls for him. Girl's got her priorities straight. Things are looking up for max 3 minutes, because the walking guild hall transforms into a giant mech. And now's a good time to present my thesis. This anime is like a perfect blend of every anime trope ever. Fan service? Doi. Shonen power-ups? Yeah. Underdogs, the power of friendship, cute animal companions, giant mechs? Try to prove me wrong, people. Okay. Phantom Lord is harder to kill than a New York City cockroach, and Elfman decides to take on the mech. After several trying battles, Erza takes on Phantom Lord's guildmaster Jose, but she's not at her best. She's about to go down for the long sleep when she's engulfed in a healing light. Makarov's back and he's ready to kick some ass. Both Makarov and Jose are what's known as wizard saints, mega powerful magic users. The saints duke it out, and the battle ends when Makarov uses the spell Fairy Law to destroy all evildoers in a cleansing light. The Magic Council disbands Phantom Lord as punishment for their role in the Guild War, and Makarov gets some advice from a friend on the council. He's not as young as he used to be, and he needs to start thinking about retirement. I hope Fairy Tail provides some sort of Magic Guild Medicare. Back at the guild, Loxus gets into it with Erza. He has some not nice things to say about the guild members, and Lucy learns that even though he seems to hate the guild, he's in line to be guild master because he's Makarov's grandson. The crew gets a much-deserved hot spring episode, and then a beach episode. And do you believe me yet about Fairy Tail containing every anime trope ever? By the way, watch the Get in the Robot beach episode video. It's hosted by yours truly. Well, their vacation doesn't last long. Some wizards from Erza's shadowy past show up and kidnap her and Happy. The wizard Jalal is behind the attack, and it looks like he's doing the bidding of some mysterious dark figure. Yeah, there's a lot of that in this show. Remember that Voldemort guy, Zareth? It all goes back to him. Erza and Jalal were childhood friends. They met as prisoners of the Tower of Heaven, a magical structure that can resurrect the dead. Jalal broke Erza and the other prisoners free, but he was changed in the ordeal. He pretty much turned evil and convinced the other kids that they have to resurrect Zareth to truly be free. Erza flees and joins Fairy Tail, while Jalal continues construction on the tower. With the tower complete, Jalal's crew chooses Erza to use as a sacrifice to resurrect Zareth. The Magic Council gets wind of the Tower of Heaven, and we learn that Seagrain is apparently Jalal's twin brother. I guess they're like extremely identical twins. They know they have to take out the tower, and Team Natsu heads to it. Seagrain argues for the council to use their most powerful weapon on the tower, a spell called Etherean. Team Natsu meets up with Erza on the inside, and many battles ensue, with a couple members of Jalal's gang changing sides when Erza convinces them that the whole resurrect an evil wizard plan isn't actually a good idea. The rest of the team faces some formidable enemies, while the council votes to use the Etherean. Back at the tower, with only minutes left before Etherean wipes them all out, Erza finally encounters Jalal. They battle, and Jalal reveals that all those years ago, he was possessed by Zareth, which explains his evil makeover. But there's a hitch. He still doesn't have enough magical power to activate the tower. Apparently Jalal always knew he wouldn't be able to activate the tower, but Zareth's hold over him compelled him to continue. He knows the only way to escape Zareth's influence is by dying in the Etherean's blast. What a way to go. At the council meeting, council member Altier reveals that she's one of Jalal's followers and destroys the council's chamber. But this roller coaster of an arc isn't over yet, because the tower's true form is a giant lacrima, a crystal that can be charged with magic like a battery. It absorbs the Etherean's blast, which was Zareth's endgame all along. With enough stored magical energy to resurrect the Dark Mage, Jalal traps Erza once more. Natsu arrives on the scene, rescues Erza, and resolves to destroy the tower to prevent Zareth's resurrection. The two wizards duke it out as the tower crumbles around them. Running low on power, Natsu chokes down some of the crystallized Etherean to fuel his magic. It nearly kills him, but it gives him the strength to take out Jalal. However, the tower is still falling apart and the Etherean magic is getting volatile. Erza decides to use her body to channel the magical explosion into the sky, thus saving her friends. She wakes up to discover that Natsu saved her. She later reveals that at the last minute, Zareth's spirit fled Jalal's body, and it was Jalal who channeled the Etherean into the sky. When the war-torn crew finally returns to the guild, they find that construction has been completed and a few new members have joined. Juvia and Gagio get the fairy tale mark. And Loxus can't just let anyone catch a break. He returns to Magnolia determined to figure out who's the strongest mage in Fairy Tail. So he starts a tournament-style battle that doesn't end well for him. This is a shonen after all. Mira Jane reawakens her powerful magic form, the demon, during the battle. You see, guys? Best girl. And Loxus is exiled as punishment for starting all this shit. Speaking of starting shit, you can rewatch all of Fairy Tail on Crunchyroll. With 9 seasons and over 300 episodes, there's a lot of ground to cover. But you can get started for free with a 14-day trial. Just use this URL to sign up for crunchyroll.com/GetInTheRobot. If you're already caught up on Fairy Tail, then I highly recommend Madoka Magica, one of my favorite magical girl anime. And you can't go wrong with Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. It's lighthearted, like Fairy Tail, and also has dragons. And these dragons don't have abandonment issues. Well, actually they kinda do, but actually that's kind of the whole premise. I know! How about that time I got reincarnated as a slime?
What about Faldora?
Well, you'd be lonely too if you hadn't talked to another creature in, centuries? Alright, fine. The lesson here is if you're a dragon, be kind to yourself. It's okay to ask for help. A bunch of dragons with abandonment issues can't be a good thing. I mean, look at Natsu, and Wendy, and Gajeel. Don't let yourself become a statistic. To be safe, catch up on all these shows over at Crunchyroll. Get your 14 free days at crunchyroll.com/GetInTheRobot. I made it, girls. Okay, onward. Season 2. And that brings us to Season 2! It's still 784 because, believe it or not, most of the show takes place over the course of 1 year. Across Fiore, dark guilds continue to grow in power. One guild in particular, Grimoire Heart, is set on bringing Zareth back. To make Fiore great again, you might say. Oof. To combat the rising tide of fascism, I mean dark guilds, Fairy Tail enters into an alliance with 3 other guilds, Blue Pegasus, Lamia Scale, and Kate Shelter. They team up against the Dark Guild Orasian Seis. The guild only has 6 members, but they're so threatening that each guild has to send its most powerful mages to defeat them. Lucy and the gang meet up with their allies from Lamia Scale, Kate Shelter, and Blue Pegasus. Blue Pegasus sends Ichia and the Trimans. Lamia Scale sends Leon, yeah, that Leon, and Cherry Blendy, as well as Jura, one of the legendary wizard saints. Kate Shelter, on the other hand, has only sent a single representative, a blue-haired girl, Wendy Marvel. She also has a flying cat named Carla, and Happy immediately takes a shine to her. Orasian Seis intends to use Nirvana, a mysterious and destructive spell. Our team's plan of attack involves Blue Pegasus's bomber airship, Christina, which unfortunately gets blown up by Orasian Seis member Angel. Brain, the leader of Orasian Seis, is about to kill the whole team, but then he recognizes Wendy and kidnaps her instead. Hold on, does every important girl have to get kidnapped on the show? I mean, come on y'all, can't we get some guys in distress for once? Brain wants to use Wendy's healing magic to resurrect Jalal. Yeah, like a bad rash, he just never goes away. Wendy agrees to heal Jalal because apparently he saved her life once. She completes the healing just in time for the team to bust in and save her. So Brain sends in another Orasian Seis wizard, Midnight, to clean up the mess. The team learns that Nirvana has the power to invert light and dark from within people, essentially converting the good guys into the bad guys if they happen to have a tough time. Nirvana has already begun to affect everyone in the area, much like the ring does in Lord of the Rings. Moment of silence for Boromir. As battles wage on, Wendy tells Carla how she met Jalal. When the sky dragon who raised Wendy disappeared, she was left alone, wandering in the woods. Jalal came upon her and dropped her off at Kate's shelter. That explains Wendy's debt to Jalal. Meanwhile, Erza finds Jalal right where Nirvana is, and he's all sorts of messed up. His memory has been wiped, and he has no idea about the dark deed he committed in the past. He feels bad for hurting Erza and tries to use magic to destroy Nirvana, and himself along with it. But before he can activate his spell, Brain takes control of Nirvana and activates its second stage. Poof! Another guild on legs, marching straight towards Kate's shelter. The gang rushes off to defeat it. Jura takes out Brain, or so it seems. Even though Brain is down, Nirvana is still moving towards Kate's shelter, and the team is at a loss for how to stop it. Natsu's gang is confronted by Clodoa. And if you're wondering who the heck Clodoa is, it's that creepy staff Brain's been carrying around the whole time. It explains that the reason Nirvana is bent on destroying Kate's shelter is that the founders of the guild are descendants of an ancient race known as the Nirvit. And only the Nirvit can seal Nirvana. Everything is looking good for the team until they learn that Brain has an alternate destructive personality called Zero that the Orasian Seis kept sealed using body link magic. Don't you hate when that happens? Zero opens fire on Kate's shelter with Nirvana. Miraculously, the blast misses the guild. And so the tide of the battle turns in favor of our heroes. Up in the sky, it's a bird! It's a plane! It's the airship Christina! She's back! And the wizards on board have figured out how to stop Nirvana. They have to take out each of its 6 legs, like it's a Zelda boss. The rest of the crew works to execute this plan while Natsu goes off to fight Zero. He beats Zero and destroys Nirvana once and for all. With the threat of Nirvana dispelled, the truth of the Kate shelter comes out. It wasn't a guild after all, but a mirage created just for Wendy by the spirit of its guildmaster. When Nirvana falls, the shelter vanishes, which is, you know, just great since the whole team nearly lost their lives battling for it. Wendy is understandably devastated at the loss of her guild, but Erza invites her to join Fairy Tale. Season 3. Wendy finally meets Mystigan, a mysterious Fairy Tale member who, surprise, is also another Jalal-looking dude. This Jalal remembers meeting Wendy in the woods 7 years earlier. He's been doing his best to stop a powerful and, you guessed it, destructive magic that will destroy the Fairy Tale Guild and the rest of Magnolia along with it. Wendy rushes back to warn the guild, but she's too late. The city is sucked up into a storm in the sky. The vortex takes Fairy Tale to Edelos, the birthplace of Carla and Happy, and a completely alternate universe. Ah, so that's why there's a whole other Jalal. And what do they find through the looking glass? An inverted version of Fairy Tale, where everyone is different. For starters, Edelos' version of Grey is basically a never nude, and he's in love with Juvia. Oh my god, after that I wrote, please, please, please show an asset of Tobias from Arrested Development. Love Dory. Kanna's sober? Could this be the good timeline after all? And all the other guild members are pretty much bizarro world versions of themselves. Even Erza gets an Edalos makeover. She's Erza Nightwalker in Edalos, and she's known as the Fairy Hunter. At least she's still a badass. Natsu, Wendy, Happy, and Carla explain that they've come from an alternate dimensions fairy tale, and they've got to reunite with their friends. Edalos Lucy, who's kind of a hard ass, takes them to the capital where they find their dumbass Lucy alive and well. The gang overhears some soldiers talking about an upcoming lacrima extraction. The lacrima powers the anima, the magical device that brought Fairy Tale to Edalos in the first place, and is sucking up Earthland's magic. Magic is finite in Edalos, so they must steal magic from other worlds. Team Natsu makes it to the capital where they find the giant lacrima full of Magnolia's magic. Carla formulates a plan to infiltrate the castle via a secret passage. She doesn't know how she knows of the passage's existence. She's been getting flashes of information ever since arriving in Edalos. The crew follows her plan, but they're instantly intercepted by the fairy hunter Erza. She's the head of the royal army, and she is not messing around. At least when it comes to Lucy, Wendy, and Natsu. But Erza and the other royal guards bow to Carla and Happy and refer to them as Exceeds. It's the first time the cats have ever heard their species' name. Erza thanks Carla for apprehending the enemy and leading them into a trap. Carla and Happy are introduced to fellow Exceeds, who take them to their kingdom of Ixtalia. Almost read that as Hetalia. Wrong anime. The Exceeds thank Carla and Happy for executing their duty. When Carla asks what exactly this duty is, she learns that they were fated to exterminate all dragon slayers from Earthland. Horrified to learn that they've been following the Exceed Queen's orders unknowingly, Happy and Carla reject their fellow Exceeds. They're fairy tale mages after all. They escape from Ixtalia and go to find their friends. And they're not a moment too soon. Erza Nightwalker is battling Lucy, and it's not what you'd call a fair fight. She drops Lucy from a balcony, but Carla swoops in and catches Lucy and orders Erza not to kill her. Carla then orders Erza to release the Dragon Slayers, but Panther Lily, an Exceed in the Royal Guard, arrives to tell Erza that Carla and Happy are fallen Exceeds and must be captured. And that's just the beginning of the infighting. Faust is a totally genocidal dude who just wants more magical power for his kingdom. He plans to capture the Exceeds in a lacrima like the one that's holding the Fairy Tale Guild. Even worse, he wants to use them to power the Dragon Chain Cannon, a specialized weapon that can destroy Ixtalia. He launches his attack and all hell breaks loose. Meanwhile, Gajiel tries to reverse the spell that holds Magnolia in a lacrima. He succeeds and spreads the word that Dragon Slayer magic can turn the lacrima back into humans. Panther Lily is next on the scene, and he engages Gajiel in a manly battle. Faust boots up the Dragon Chain Cannon and is about to unleash it when Coco, one of the king's attendants, points out that Panther Lily is still battling Gajiel, and he'll be killed by the cannon. The king does not give two shits and is about to proceed, so Coco steals the key needed to operate the cannon and gets the heck out of Dodge. The cannon's key falls into various hands during the ensuing battles, but Gray ends up with it in the end. Some true Tia and Tamara twin action happens when it seems that Nightwalker captures Gray and Natsu and takes them to Faust. But she reveals herself as the real Erza. She's on top of things as usual, redirecting the cannon to free Magnolia's citizens from the lacrima when the real Nightwalker shows up. She orders the cannon to be reverted to its original target, but Team Natsu and Coco escape to try to stop it. Wendy convinces Carla to go to Ixtalia and warn the queen of her impending doom. But when they arrive, no one believes them. Finally, the queen is forced to admit that Wendy and Carla are right. She comes clean to her people and reveals the truth. Exceeds weren't always worshipped as superior beings. They were once used and abused by humanity. So they hatched up a plan to convince humanity that the Exceed Queen is a god and that humans are an inferior race. That is just such a cat mood right there. Carla convinces the Exceeds to take to the sky to try to push the lacrima away from Ixtalia. With a little help from Team Natsu and a surprise assist from Mystigan, they succeed. Mystigan transports the lacrima to Earth at the critical moment, and the fairy tale mages, as well as the citizens of Magnolia, are safe and sound. But the battle isn't over. Of course it isn't over. The fairy hunter Erza is back in action and she shoots Panther Lily. What? Right when he'd bonded with Gajiel? Faust is also back, and this time he's got a dragon mech and a paternity test. Faust, you are the father of Mystigan. Faust rejects his son for working to undo his evil plan and attacks Team Natsu. Mystigan slips off with the injured Panther Lily. They head to the Anima's chamber, where Mystigan basically puts the Anima in reverse, sucking all of the magic out of Edelos. The Anima also sends the members of Fairy Tail back to Earthland, but Mystigan stays behind to reign as Edelos's new leader. Panther Lily also makes his way back to Earthland, where he gets a chibi makeover and joins Fairy Tail. Because no good deed goes unpunished, the Magic Council reconvenes, this time as the Holy Order of the Magic Council. And yep, yeah, that's a real big red flag. The new council has finally agreed to break up Fairy Tail once and for all. Things fall back into a nice rhythm just in time for the Wizards of Fairy Tail to take their annual S-Class test on Tenrou Island. The participants can choose a partner, and will battle current S-Rank wizards to pass the test. Natsu teams up with Happy, and Lucy teams up with Kana. After some thrilling battles, Phase 2 of the trial commences. The wizards must find the grave of Fairy Tail's first master, Mavis. Along the way, Elfman and his partner Evergreen encounter a creepy boy. In a swirl of black smoke, he extinguishes all life around them. Elfman and Evergreen barely escape thanks to Natsu. When the creepy boy sees Natsu, he begins to weep. That can't be good. I weep when I look at Natsu too. Can't stand listening to him scream. Season 4! Season 4 opens with the crew on Tenrou Island, wondering who the heck that little goth boy is. He's definitely a dark wizard, but he's not the only dark wizard on the island. Grimoire Heart, the most powerful dark guild, has come to Tenrou to hunt fairies. Gajiel's the first to encounter one of them, and after a tough battle, he warns the rest of the guild. Unfortunately, Azuma, one of the 7 kin of Purgatory, Grimoire Heart's elite team, is already on the island. The Fairy Tail crew also learns that somehow Zeref is alive on Tenrou Island, but in a resting state. Erza questions this revelation. How can Zeref have been alive for 400 years if his spirit possessed Jalal? Don't worry, Erza. We'll just chalk another one up to our good friend, anime logic. Makarov transforms into giant form and takes on Hades, Grimoire Heart's guild master. During the battle, Makarov comes to the horrible realization that Hades is his old master, the former master of Fairy Tail, Precht. Makarov is beaten soundly. He's at death's door when Loxus swoops in to save him. Each of the 7 kin joins the battle now, all of whom practice super rare lost magic. Altier, the leader of the 7 kin and the council member who destroyed the original council hall back the first time they were firing the Etherean cannon. Simpler times, am I right, ladies? Anyway, she finds Zeref and tells him of their plan to use his magic to bring about the apocalypse. Zeref is not happy about that plan and says he doesn't want to cause unrest in this era. They duke it out, and by a stroke of luck, Altier captures Zeref. The Magic Council decides to try to obliterate the island altogether with the Etherean, because apparently that's the only move they've got. Erza takes on Azuma with the last of her strength. Azuma unearths the Great Tenrou Tree, which is the source of the guild's magic. Only Erza's magic remains, because Azuma wants to face her in battle. She makes a desperate wager. If she wins, he must return her friend's magic. He agrees, and the battle commences. Erza scrapes out a victory. With Fairy Tail's magic restored, the tides of the battle turn once again. All of a sudden, Zeref is awake, and he lets forth a wave of magic by speaking the word Magnolia. It debilitates his captors, and he escapes. Natsu, Grey, and Erza head to the Grimoire Heart airship to battle Hades. Even Loxus shows up to help out. Meanwhile, the Exceeds infiltrate the airship and locate the source of its energy, a crystalline heart. Because we're in a Kirby game now! They destroy it just in the nick of time. Hades is about to deal Natsu a fatal blow, but without the power of the heart, Hades isn't much of an opponent. With their powers combined, the fairies take Hades out of commission. A repentant Altier reverses Azuma's destruction of the Tenrou Tree, and Fairy Tail's magic returns. Makarov appears and orders Hades and the remaining members of Grimoire Heart to get off the island. Just as they think they're making their getaway, Zeref appears on the airship. He kills Hades by forcing him to summon Magnolia, who is still on the loose. Turns out, Magnolia is an absurdly evil and powerful dragon slayer known as the Dragon King. Magnolia flies towards Tenrou Island and starts destroying everything. The entire Fairy Tail Guild clasps hands to perform a defensive spell, but Magnolia's attack seems to completely obliterate the island. The Fairy Tail members all disappear in a flash of light, and they are presumed dead. First Zelda, then Kirby, now this is Final Fantasy VI. 791, the heroes return. 7 years pass, and without Erza, Natsu, and the rest of the crew, Fairy Tail is now the weakest guild in Fiore. How the mighty have fallen, at least for now. Members of the Blue Pegasus Guild visit what's left of Fairy Tale and tell them that there's been a shift in the magical energy around the spot formerly known as Tenrou Island. There, they learn that the spirit of Mavis Vermilion protected the island. The lost members have just been frozen in time for the last 7 years, I mean, duh! The missing members return to their guild and reunite with their friends. Huzzah! Whew! And that about does it for the first part of our Fairy Tale timeline. Throw me a bone and subscribe. I'm gonna need to eat something so I can be all revved up for the second part. I'm Dory, and thank you for watching Get in the Robot, your anime watch list.